In 1931, the United States of America suffered from a drought. For years before that, farmers had been plowing the Great Plains, which seemed harmless enough until you realized that the grasses originally holding the soil in place had been torn up by the plows. So combine that with the fact that farmers have not been using crop rotation, and then the drought, and you have one big problem on your hands. Welcome to the Dust Bowl. Farmers first start to worry when their crops and soil dry up and they can't grow anything. In 1932, 14 dust storms were reported. That number more than doubled the next year with 38 dust storms. Now that the topsoil has been blown away, there's nothing to keep the plants from blowing away as well. So by now, people living in the states of Colorado, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, Nebraska, and New Mexico have started to immigrate. They've been pushed from their homes by both economic and environmental problems, the Great Depression's unemployment, and the Dust Bowl storms. One such person is Florence Thompson, single mother of 6 children. When the Depression hit, her family was forced to become migrant workers. When asked about her life during that time, she said, "I didn't even weigh 100 pounds. I'd leave home before daylight and come in after dark. We just existed. We survived, let's put it that way." When World War II came along, the defense industry started, and Florence and her family found jobs in that, as did thousands of other struggling people. But that didn't happen until after the Dust Bowl. In 1934, the dust storm spread to affect over 75% of the United States. It is the worst drought in U.S. history. In 1935, it's estimated that 850 million tons of topsoil were blown off the plains in just that year. So, where did all the immigrants go? California, where at first they advertised the need for migrant workers, but then they had to send police to line the borders and turn them away towards Arizona and Oregon. The established inhabitants were not very happy to see new people because they felt overburdened by the constant stream of immigrants. However, they eventually accepted it and learned to get along, so for the most part, things worked out for the better. However, even though the established inhabitants weren't happy at first, there were some benefits. One was that the Works Progress Administration was authorized and employed 8.5 million people. One bittersweet moment happened in October 1933. In California's San Joaquin Valley, the largest agricultural strike in U.S. history begins. 18,000 workers from Canadian Agricultural Workers Industrial Union go on strike for 24 days. 2 men and 1 woman are killed, and hundreds of people get injured. Because of this, the union was recognized by the growers, and workers were given a 25% raise. Another good thing that happened was the Federal Surplus Relief Corporation, or FSRC. They spread resources out to different relief organizations in 1933, and later clothes were distributed as well. Meanwhile, the dust storms were getting worse. In the year 1934, the Yearbook of Agriculture announced that 100 million acres have lost all or most of their topsoil, and another 125 million acres were about to, and 35 million acres cannot grow crops of any kind. The year 1937 was reported to have had 134 dust storms, but the worst storm of the whole Dust Bowl was on Sunday, April 14th, 1935. It was called Black Sunday. It was so bad that 5 days later, a group of senators in a meeting about the same situation happened to look out the window and notice that the sun was getting darker. That was a result of the Black Sunday storm 5 days earlier and 2,000 miles away. Many people got lost on their way to somewhere, and often in these storms, cars would short out. Luckily, it was the last major dust storm of that year. So, how did the immigrants feel? Were they bitter to have to leave, or grateful for the opportunity to go? Florence Thompson and her kids lived in all sorts of things, from tents to bamboo houses, along their travels. And when they settled, she worked for 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 8 years. All to make a living for her kids, she says. One man asked her, "Did you ever lose hope?" She promptly replied, "Nope. If I'd ever left hope, I wouldn't have made it." Would ever make a woman that determined to work so hard in a new place? Why not just stay where you are? It takes less time and money and energy, so much less. What would be your drive? Probably the same reason the immigrants left their homes. When you clean your house a couple times in a day, only to wake up the next morning with a thick layer of dust covering everything, even your sleeping child, would you rather stay and do that all over again every day? Or would you rather leave and spend the same time working, but this time it doesn't come undone, therefore giving you a higher chance and better opportunities to take care of your kids? What if every day you sent your children to school wearing masks to keep them from inhaling dust? I believe that's why these people worked so hard for a fresh start, because yes, they did lose their homes and possessions when they left, but getting away from the dust gave them another bigger chance to do something with their lives. So in the end, even though they did lose a lot, they gained so much more by leaving it all behind.